day yesterday. I think the rains have really messed us up. They really messed us up yesterday. We started a bit late yesterday, around 10:40, but we managed to get a footing by the afternoon. So again, today we are having around 4 sessions, so 2 running concurrently. The other one we have technology for education. Here we are talking about technology in agriculture. And I think the sense or the theme or the outcome for the summit for us is collaboration. And the question here we are asking is how can we be able to achieve 2 things? Number one is create economic opportunities for young people, entrepreneurs as well as what they call them entrepreneurs or startups. Because of course we don't have jobs. I mean, we are all looking for jobs. So statistics says we have around 1 million people entering the labor market, and they are not able to secure either job or economic opportunities. So again, the platform is to create a platform for conversations to see how we can be able to explore that. So we want to explore how we can be able to link startups with county governments to be able to support their programs, but as well as we want to be able to support startups in different sectors to be able to engage with corporates. So ultimately, that's our end goal. So we don't just want to talk, and again, it's not a numbers game, it's just a combination of the venue. So we are able to curate early adopters or people that believe in the cause and are able to support this journey in terms of these 2 major goals. So I mean that's the backdrop of this conversation. So we've had a lot of corporate partners who say we needed these sessions to be recorded. We create a package for them so that they can be able to engage. Of course, not everybody is able to make it to sit 2 hours just idly talking with their neighbors. So that's the outcome. So I'm super excited to have all of you here. We are very privileged to host you here. I hope you enjoyed the tea. Yes. In case you need more tea, there is more tea coming. So I would just open the floor to the moderator for her to pick it up and start the conversation.
My name is Shalin Chikuzi, and I'm a dispatching engineer by profession. I am also a founder and Women in Space Kenya, where we do empowering women into the space industry. And I'm here to be a moderator for this day's session. And today we're going to talk about the technology in agriculture. And I think for a start, we need to acknowledge that, as you mentioned, as Victor has mentioned, that our thing, and actually what we're looking at is to try and link startups to the corporates and also just to enhance conversations around collaboration. So before we start, I think it would be amazing to just create context in what are the young people doing, or even the startups that are already utilizing technology in the agricultural sector, and then now after that, then we go to a panel discussion where we now try to understand how different institutions work and how they can now bring their knowledge and also come up with the collaborative aspects of how we can, support the young startups. And for today, for the technology in agriculture, we have 2 great startups that are already doing something in the ground, and we wanted to just hear from them and learn from them. We have Agribora and we have Prodistress, and I'm really happy to have you guys here. Would love to hear from you. And maybe for a start, now that we want to just start with the pitch, I would want to welcome Agribora. Billy, you're welcome to take us through what you do as a young startup and using technology in the agricultural sector. So let's give a hand to Billy as he comes on stage to tell us more about what Agribora is.
Hello. I'm great to meet you. Some of you that have met. So my name is Billy. I work for a startup called Agribora. And at Agribora, I am a business engineer. I started off as an Earth observation engineer, but right now things have changed and now I have to understand how to use this Earth observation to make money, to be more specific. So what does Agribora do? Or what's our journey, so to say? So Agribora started as a trader in the ecosystem of agriculture. basically selling inputs to farmers through agri-hubs, and also buying output from farmers through off-takers. So that is our core business, and that is our main processes. But how do we get to these farmers? Or how do we solve the problems that these farmers have, so that at the end of the day we can get more from them, give them what they require, and also be able to sustain our business in this ecosystem. So one of the problems that most farmers are facing is access to credit or financial inclusion, to be specific. Most farmers want to be able to get more from their farms, but they do not have enough money to be able to put into their soil. So what does Agriculture have for these kinds of farmers, or to be specific, smallholder farmers? Because smallholder farmers produce more than 75% of the food that we eat in this country. So it means that to be able to have a more sustainable ecosystem, we need to support smallholder farmers. So we do that by having a credit scoring program. So in this credit scoring program, what we do is that we are able to link these farmers to the financial inclusion, but by first evaluating what they have been planting in the previous seasons. To be able to do this, we use Earth observation data. So that is where Earth observation comes into our process. We use Earth observation data to be able to find out how these farmers have been performing in the previous seasons. And then from that, we can be able to tell whether this is a farmer that when you give them a loan, they actually plant and they actually have harvest at the end of the season. I don't know who's controlling this system. Okay, so this is our core steps. Agriculture does not communicate with farmers directly, but we do that using grassroots agribusinesses. And these grassroots agribusinesses are known as agri-hubs. So look at agri-hubs like your local agrovets, or the people that serve farmers in the grassroots level. These are the people that know the farmers better, and these are the people that you have to go through to be able to reach out to farmers. So this is how we reach out to the farmers. The agri-hubs help us with any other logistics support, that is getting inputs to the farmers, mapping the farmers. That is the job of the agri-hubs. So these agri-hubs, they also need support to be able to handle the digital nature of information that we need to be able to support their farmers. And for that, we have a product known as the Agri-POS. Agri-POS is a mobile point-of-sale system that is used to record transactions. One of the problems that smallholder farmers face when they want to get finances from the banks is that their transactions are not digitized. Banks want to help them, but they don't have any supporting documents that can show that indeed this farmer has been doing transactions for a certain period of time. So how do we solve for that? We provide this mobile POS that the agrovet can now use to record these transactions. So based off of these transactions and the Earth observation data that I explained before, this is how we are now able to score the farmers. Because now we can see that this farmer has been buying from a certain agrovet. And also on the ground, this farmer has been doing some agricultural activity. And we can get this agricultural activity using the satellite data. On the farmer side, we know that farmers mostly use feature phones. Smartphones are not their thing. But for that to be effective, we have a USSD service. This USSD service is the portal in which they can be able to access finances and communication from Agribora or from the agri-hubs. And then on the other side, we have the data analytics. So this is how we are able to monitor what these farmers are planting within the season. Are they having any challenges with the weather? Is there anything that we need to do about their yields that can improve the yields at the end of the season? We do that using the data analytics program. So the use cases for Earth observation here are two: the credit scoring. And the credit scoring, we first need to evaluate the historical performances of the fields. And then we have the risk monitoring. And this risk monitoring especially helps us to know the real-time performance of these fields. And then we also have a yield estimation. If a farmer took a loan of, say, 13,000 shillings at the start of the season, and we're edging towards the end of the season, a we able to tell whether this farmer will indeed be able to pay that loan from the harvest that they will get from the field, and also have their margin at the end of the season. So that is our use case for crop yield estimation. So I would just like to go deeper a bit into what we do with the credit scoring here. So the credit scoring has several parameters, so to say. One of the key parameters, as I explained before, is the Earth observation part, which evaluates the performance of this field based on vegetation indices. And then we also have the socio-economical factors. Socio-economical factors are such as how many children are in this home, who are the source, the key providers of this family. Is it just one person working? Is it two of them working? What is the education level? So these are the variables that we combine into a statistical model. It's just based on statistics to be able to score this farm. So another factor that we also have to check for is crop suitability. Someone will want to plant a certain crop that is not suitable to grow in an area like this. And this is information that is currently available, for example, from Calvo. So this is also one of our data sources. Someone will want to grow a crop and get a loan for it, but then that crop is not suitable for that region or for that area. So then this is a person that we also have to advise that, okay, you want to grow this crop here, it's not advisable to do that. There's another option for you. And this is the case where someone wants to grow potato, let's say, in soup. It's not suitable, so they have to go for something else. And then we have the case for historical performance. So just as I said, we need to evaluate whether this farmer has been doing cultivation in the previous seasons. So you can see here, we're just looking at something that is called MTP IV of this field. And you can see in 2021, it was at this level. So they were doing some cultivation. So if we just move to the next slide again. Then between this period, of course, they harvested, and then they began another period of planting. So you can see that this is someone who has been frequently doing cultivation of their field. And that is what these indices show us. So over this period between 2021 to 2023, we can see that this is a farmer who has been consistently doing cultivation. And this is a good indicator because this is a farmer that you can entrust with a loan or credit. So apart from that, then we also do this thing that is called benchmarks. So benchmarks help us to establish whether this field has been performing better or worse relative to the other fields in that agroecological zone. We understand in Kenya we have different agroecological zones. And based off of these agroecological zones, we have different planting dates and harvesting dates. So for each field in each agroecological zone, how does that field perform with respect to that area? So this is also something that we have to evaluate before we put this farmer into a certain credit score level. So based off of these variables that I talked about, the farm characteristics and the socio-economical factors, the age, the civil status, and then we have the Earth observation data and the transaction data, we can combine and weigh all these variables into a credit score, which ranges between 0 to 100. So based off of this, now we can be able to advise this farmer to take a certain loan amount from us. So on to the risk monitoring. So what happens is that once this farmer has a certain threshold of credit, then an automated message or SMS is sent to this farmer. And then we have the precipitation. So for precipitation, we have to look at how this area that this farmer is staying looks like with respect to the entire agroecological zone. And that is what we say when we're looking at rainfall anomaly. And this also gives us a variable called loan default risk score. Because in most cases, what farmers experience that make them to be able to not pay for a loan is either because there was a pest or weather. But if these factors are not existing, then this farmer is in the right place to be able to pay for the loan at the end of the season. So this is just more details about the loan default risks and the variables that are involved here. The plant density, for example, which is using the vegetation indices, the moisture index. We have to compare this between this season and the previous season to actually know that, okay, this is something that is really bad or really good for this farm. So this is an example of a real-time performance of this field. You can see that the NDVI of this field has not deviated much from the previous planting seasons. So this is a good use case, and this is exactly what you want to see to be able to evaluate whether you will be able to initiate insurance for this farmer, or if this farmer is in a good place to be able to pay for the loan. The same case but for a different index. And now this is the case for precipitation. You can see that in the current season the rain was actually very high as compared to the long-term average of that ecological zone. This is already a good thing that this farmer will be able to receive sufficient amount of rainfall for their field. And then this is the crop yield prediction. I only want to dwell much on this because the yield prediction is good, but it also helps us to know, it just helps us to know that this farmer will be able to pay for the loan. So for the yield prediction, to get into details, we use the base data for the farm, such as the crop type, whether they're doing the cropping or not, harvesting date, the fertilizer use, and then we use soil data and vegetation indices from Digital Earth Africa, and then we also use meteorological data. This is temperature and precipitation. We have the feature store and then we get the yield prediction. To get the farm baseline data, we use a combination of farmer service, basically crop cuts in these regions that we operate in. That is how we get the data to use for this yield prediction. This is just the overall view for the yield prediction. For those who are interested, we use this regression model called random forest that combines all of these features, standardize the features, and then get to a yield at the end of this. So this is a process that is done on a weekly basis. So at the end of each week, we're able to get a new variable for the yield. This is just a lot of remote sensing, and I wouldn't want to go into that, but for those who are interested, we do cloud masking also, because you realize that the areas that are affected by clouds, such as this area here, are not really useful for the machine learning model because there's no enough digital numbers that you can extract from this that can be able to tell you that this is vegetation, and you are able to use that part indeed to compute something like vegetation index. So we have to remove such things during our process. So this is just more details about the yield prediction. I think the person who really prepared this slide was really into this. But this is something that we call feature importance, just telling us which features are important for the yield prediction. And then this is the exact use case of why we do the yield prediction. So this farmer was given a loan of 32,000 shillings, for example. And based on the yield prediction, because from the yield prediction you can get the actual kilograms of maize that this farmer will be able to produce at the end of the season, there's a high confidence that this farmer will be able to pay for this loan. So this is the use case for the yield prediction. That is why we go through all that trouble to make sure that we know that this farmer will be able to pay for the loan. And that confidence is important in this ecosystem, because despite Agribora facilitating this loan process, the actual loan provider is the financial services. For example, banks. The financial service provider is the one who facilitates the actual money getting into the farmer's pocket. But for that to happen, they need confidence that this farmer can actually be able to pay for that loan. So this is the information that they need. And then there's this second use case where we know that, okay, this farmer requested for a certain loan amount and the predicted earnings is low. So how do we assist this farmer? Do we need an insurer? Then that is what happens. So Agribora works with both partners, an insurer and a financial service provider. The benefit of this for Agribora is that we have more trade and more transactions on our platform. Because the more money is in circulation, the more you procure, and the more you get to the farmers. So that is how this ecosystem is sustained. But this is just a demonstration. I don't know if you can be able to operate that, but I'm sure that it will require some. So I'm not sure if you're getting there because it requires some authentication. We'll get into that for another session. So at the end of the season, what happens? At the end of the season, Agribora also aggregates the harvest that has been from this farmer's field through the hubs. And that is something that farmers usually lack in the ground. They lack the access to the off-takers or to the companies that want this harvest to be able to use it for value addition. So how does Agribora come in again at the end of the season? It is a full circle. They harvest, we get it from them, we sell it to the suppliers who have contracts with. That is how farmers also make money. So as you can see, the ecosystem is a full circle, and that is where we want to be able to work with the farmers. We don't want to leave them hanging at the end of the season, whereby they have to look for middlemen who then have very bad contracts with the farmers. But with this solution, the farmers are able to plant as they wish and get enough margin into their pockets. Aside from that, Agribora also has a service that is called Agrigala, and this Agrigala service is specifically for a program, I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's called the Warehouse Receipt Council. And the Warehouse Receipt System works in a way that the farmer can be able to store their produce in an Agribora warehouse. As you know well, that there's a lot of post-harvest process that occur where farmers are. They don't have the correct tools to be able to store their produce. But when they store their maize with Agribora, then they can be able to sell the maize at a favorable time. And that is very important because at the time when most farmers are harvesting, the prices are usually very bad for them because there's a lot, it's the law of demand and supply. There's a lot of supply, and the off-takers control the prices in the market. So when all farmers are trying to sell their produce at a specific time, then they make losses. But by storing this maize in an Agribora warehouse, for example, then they can be able to wait until the prices are better or get financing from Agribora using their receipt, and then they can be able to pay back once the produce is sold. So yes, I think that is all I have to tell you about Agribora. I will be happy to discuss with all of you about the details.
My name is Richard Utolo. I work with ATEC Solutions Limited. When you were speaking, I remembered a problem I'd heard about, that the issue we have in Kenya is that farmers are very segregated. The farms are not one block. So that affects productivity. And you mentioned, maybe I misunderstood, you mentioned that the farmer has to give consent for you to, I guess, mark their land. So the question that arose in my mind, are you facing that challenge that the farms are too highly segregated? So collecting data maybe is a challenge, it's not scalable, or you have to go on the ground too much. Like that introduces a lot of friction. Yeah, that's the, maybe I misunderstood how we collect the data, but in my mind I thought that might be a problem either you're facing or you might face. Because if this farm is here, he wants you to sense, but the next farm does not want, then how do you work around that? Ideally you'd want like a whole 100 acres, maybe you can walk. Yeah, just my thinking.
So yes, so the thing is, most farmers that we deal with are smallholder farmers, yes? And these farmers work with the agri-hubs. So we don't reach out to the farmers directly, but we use the agri-hubs as the connector to the farmers. And the agri-hubs know where the farmers are. So that is our link to the farmers. So right now we are not facing a specific challenge because farmers are in different places, but we work with hubs who already work with farmers in their areas. So it becomes easier to get these kinds of information because they know whom they're working with. Yeah.
Hi, that's a really great presentation. I think my question is around sort of your business model. So how does Agribora kind of earn its revenues, and what is your business model?
Yeah, Agribora makes its money in two ways. So first of all, we're an input supplier. We supply inputs, fertilizers, seeds, medicines, and veterinary products to the agri-hubs. And other advocates want to buy is by getting this harvest from farmers and selling it to off-takers. So that is how we make money. And now the third way in which we make money right now is through this Gala service. So the Gala works by a farmer gets their products into our warehouse. We get a receipt, a certified receipt by the Warehouse Receipt Council. We finance this receipt. And then at the end of the season or the end of the period when the maize prices are high, they can sell to us. So based on the prices that they have sold to us, we get a margin from that. Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Godfrey and I would like to ask a few questions on the technical side. First of all, which kind of crops do you work with? And do you think the indices, you are using 3 indices, do you think those 3 indices will be able to inform the model to give you the desired results in all the crops that you work with? Because I believe that a crop like, for example, rice, the NDWI, that is the normalized difference water index, will be higher than even the, because rice requires a lot of water. Most of them, I have been educated by my friend Nyaga today that we have rice species that don't actually require a lot of water, which is a good thing. But considering the model, do you think that the 3 indices will satisfactorily give you the desired results? The second, the model looks at the biophysical parameters, and sometimes they fail terribly. Especially you will see a very good maize, it has grown well, it has tasseled well, and at the end of the day, it gives, if you see the fruit is actually very good, but inside there is nothing. Probably have you considered using biochemical properties other than just biophysical properties?
Thank you, Prof, for these questions. So, one of the major challenges that I can say we are faced with yield prediction is the quality of the data. But just to circle back on the indices, the crop type that we're working with right now is maize and sorghum. Maize and sorghum have similar characteristics. The shape of the leaves. So we just use the exact indices, which is NDVI. During, let me say, the maturity stage of the crop development, during the earlier stages of the crop development, we use something that is called soil adjusted vegetation index. Because during the earlier stages of the crop development, the bare soil appears more than the green. So then we use these kinds of indices during the first 3 weeks of crop development. And towards the end of the season, we use NDVI. So these have been enough, I can say, for the most part. One of the challenges though that we are facing is intercropping. There's nothing that we can do about intercropping, but usually we just assume that the yield that we have gotten for that field actually accounts for the maize, because then even if you do intercropping, the yield that you will get for beans is not the same as the yield that you will get for maize. So I can say that is one of the challenges that we're facing with this yield prediction. Yeah.
For biophysical.
And then for the biophysical, I think I'll have to consult you for that, because
okay.
you know that better, and you have used these models before, but we have not considered the chemical properties yet.
Then, thank you very much for that good presentation on the use of technology in digital agriculture. My name is Innovate from Nakuru. Just 2 questions very, very quickly. One of them is on the record keeping. Many farmers don't keep records, yet you will rely on these records to be able to make good predictions and good evaluations of the creditworthiness of individual farmers. How do you go about this? The second thing is most small-scale farmers are multifaceted. They don't just do one commodity. They have got a sheep, a goat, a sorghum here, maize, millet, cashews, coffee, some depending on agroecological zone. So this trend, if you target one commodity across the board, it is within an area, let us say like maize, for example, and leave the others for what happens, or the farmer is the one who prioritizes what is going to be funded. Thank you.
On the first question, how do we keep these reports? So we do not work with farmers directly. We work with farmers through the agri-hubs. So the agri-hubs are the people, the agrovites, the local agrovites. So these are the people that we empower using the mobile agri-POS. So an agri-POS is just like the one that is used in a supermarket but with the mobile phone. So when this person sells to the farmer, they are recording this transaction in our database. So we already have the farmer transactions. The financing part, we do not finance the other activities. We can sell feeds, for example, but we only finance a specific thing, farming. That is the only thing that we finance. So if this farmer has, let's say, maize field, coffee farm, they have to choose the one that they want to be able to support using this fund.
My name is Juliana. That was a great presentation. My question is, how many agri-hubs do you have? Is it all over the country? And also, is there a chance that you do mass trainings for these farmers now that you are trying to educate them and trying to get them giving their feeds and their produce? Is there a way that you try to reach them out in terms of mass training?
So thank you for that question. Right now, Agribora has 500 agri-hubs. 500 agri-hubs in Western Kenya. So we work specifically in Western Kenya. That is Kisumu, Bungoma, Siaya, Kakamega, Vihiga. That is our specific area of operation. The training part, so Agribora is involved in different projects with, for example, GIZ. So GIZ always has these programs where they need to train farmers in their economical programs. And right now we are in a program called Agri-Jobs for Youth, and Agri-Jobs for Youth. And in this Agri-Jobs for Youth program, Agribora works with these agri-hubs or FSCs, farmer service centers, who then provide trainings to the farmers. So it's still the same model. We still reach out to the farmer service centers in this program, who then conduct the training to the farmers. So what Agribora does here in between is provide the digital services, for example, advisory programs through SMS, and training platforms such as an LMS. So that is what Agribora facilitates for the training of these farmers.
It's Richard again, Tech. I don't think I saw a slide on what your ask is. I imagine there are many people in this room with networks and resources. Is Agribora looking to do something that we might be able to assist with? Yeah, that kind of thing.
We have potential investors.
I agree. So yes, Agribora is always on the outlook of these partnerships. The lady seated right next to you is the correct person to talk to about this. I'm more of a technical guy, but she's the lady for that.
Good morning. Thank you, Billy, for the presentation. Yes, as Agribora, we are always looking for partners to work with, and it's in form of anything. It could be partnership in the areas of our intervention. It's in form of grant to support various initiatives that we are actively involved in, as well as we're also looking for loans. Probably something below double digits, so that we're able to reach to the smallholder farmers at favorable rates. Thank you.
We'll actually go to the next pitch presentation for a startup, and then after that we do a small engagement activity for all of us, and then we have another final presentation, and then we go to a panel discussion. Okay? Yes. So allow me to welcome Progress. I welcome Victor for you to take us through, and let's give it up for him as he comes to stage.
It's a traceability platform that we are building to allow farmers, aggregators, exporting people to be in a position to showcase traceability of the products that they are dealing with. So the problems that we are trying to solve, if you could scroll up kindly. So what we are trying to solve is lack of traceability in the agricultural sector. We're also trying to bring transparency onto this sector. As Agribora was asked previously, farmers don't do a lot of documentation of their production processes. We're trying to provide that as well. Then all this, of course, is building up to providing food safety and security. Our target is
users are aggregators, those who work with small-scale farmers to buy from them and sell. We're also working with small-scale farmers who need traceability and such kind of platform. Then we're also looking at established exporting farms who export out of the country. So what the solution is, it's a blockchain-based traceability system. And we're looking at blockchain for the main reason that blockchain provides you with desirable characteristics, especially when you're trying to sell what traceability is. You're providing immutable data. You're trying to show that documentation about products are not being changed. You can verify the processes that a farmer or a farm is working through. So that is why we are basing our platform on the blockchain platform. And the proposition is we're giving you immutable data, very transparent swimming process, and hopefully we can achieve affordability with it as well. So the solution is divided into two. We have a mobile-facing end, a mobile application, and we have a dashboard. So the mobile application suits farmers' operations within the farms. So once you register a farmer on our platform, the regular registration process is sign up and all that. But once you have established those farmers within the platform, you have the farms. So a farmer has farms, can have one farm or many farms. So we register the farms on the platform. So the first screen just shows what you have once you set up. So here, to show you the farms, you add a farm here. So once you've registered the farm, it will give you all the characteristics within that farm. So you have the crop name, that's the crop you're producing within that farm, the name of the farm, the acreage, and the location. The location is mapped. We pick the coordinates of the farm when we are adding a farmer onto the platform. Then we have the production stages of producing the crop, right away from field preparation all the way to post-harvest processes. Then the platform allows now the farmer to give us input of what they are doing. So for every production stage, for example, if it is planting, we allow the farmer to give us all the data that the data of all the things that they are doing within the farm. We also capture the chemicals used within the farm, which we are calling the plant protection units. This we got from KEFIs and CAL and all those things. Then the farmer is also supposed to show us the production levels of their farm. Then we capture that as well. So we expect, this is very chronological, so once you start preparing the field, we expect you to be inputting all this data from planting all the way to harvesting, so that we capture everything that you do in the process. So once you're done with all this, you're in a position to generate a sticker. So if you're doing packaging, you generate a sticker which you put on your packaging. The QR code, it generates a QR code. If you scan the QR code, it's going to now give you all the data of what the farmer was doing from planting all the way to harvesting. And we capture dates and all that. Now, this data is shared with the second part of the platform that I'm going to show you, if you could scroll up, which is a dashboard. Just hide it. Yeah, so the dashboard, this is now for the aggregators, and we could also use it for the first-time customers, people who buy directly from farmers. So what this allows you to do as an aggregator is to manage the farmers you're working with. It also gives you visibility into the operations of what a farmer is doing. It showcases things like spray records. So what the platform looks like, on the left pane, you have all the farmers that you're working with as an aggregator, on the left here. Then on the right, you have the information about the farm. So if a farmer has several greenhouses, you remember when you're adding the farm in the mobile application, that is the data that is shown there. So it will show you all the greenhouses that the farmer is working with. All that data that the farmer was inputting on the different crop stages also comes here. You'll be in a position to see all that. So when you click a greenhouse, you'll see all the activities that correspond to that greenhouse. In the middle here, okay, we didn't capture screen, but when you land here as an aggregator, we have a map. we showcase the locations of the different farms that you're working with on the platform as well. So if you have farms distributed within the whole country, you will see all that in a map. We don't have that here. But yes, now this is the greenhouse, all the properties will be down there. Then in the middle here is the spray record. So we capture all the spray records. There are things called 5 days. 5 days is the number of days that it takes for the chemicals in a given chemical used within the farm to degrade. Yeah. So if you, for example, spray a chemical today and it's supposed to take 7 days, like dynamite that is up here, we have to capture that so that as an aggregator, if you want to order from this farmer, you can see this detail, that this chemical was sprayed on a given date, and if I'm ordering today, the chemical has to have degraded. Then you also have production. You can scroll up, please. Yeah, so on the production, we also capture the data that were given by the farmers. So it will give you the greenhouse, whatever crop is produced within that greenhouse, or if it is just a farm, if you're doing avocados, then the duration of production, expected quantities, and from here is where an aggregator can order. So you can order based on the data that you're seeing on the platform. Scroll up, please. Yeah, so this just shows how you place an order, especially for things like herbs. There are given characteristics that aggregators might want, depending on the market that they're exporting to, for example. So we're also trying to capture that when you're placing an order, that you can give those characteristics. If it's a herb and they give you a specific length, for example, 8 centimeters, it has to be cut within 8 centimeters, you have to input that so that the farmer can get that information as well. So this is just basically what the aggregator does. Scroll up, please. Just go back a bit, please. Just go back. So once the aggregator has placed this order, the farmer is going to get this on the mobile application. Then the farmer can react to that order. You can either accept it or reject it, depending on your production capabilities. But also this, the production capacity of the farm is updated periodically so that you don't find yourself in a situation where you're ordering from a farmer who's already sold the product to somebody else. So we're continuously checking that and updating it. Okay, scroll up, please. The traceability market is quite huge globally. It was predicted to get to around $37.9 billion by 2029. As of this year, it's supposed to hit about $20 billion. But the market we are looking at in Kenya, according to International Fund for Agricultural Development, we have about 1.7 million small-scale farmers already using some sort of technology in operating their farms. So for us, those would be like the first adopters of this platform. According to Fresh Produce Exporting Association of Kenya, as of 2022, they had about 658 exporting companies, both aggregating and also exporting farms directly. So we are looking at this specifically as our primary market right now. Scroll up. So our model, we're looking at business to business, where we work with registered companies directly from company to company, and also business to customers, working with farmers directly, offering the platform as a service, which is going to be subscription based. We're looking at either for your production period, if you're producing a crop for 3 months and you just need to trace the production for the 3 months, we are looking at the package that we can offer for that. Then we're looking at enterprise, especially for now, aggregating companies who you need the platform for the entire year. So we want to offer the platform as well as an enterprise or seasonal, so depending on what you want. So the kind of partnerships that we're looking for, currently we're looking at government institutions, and especially institutions that align with where the product is right now. We're looking at Pest Control Products Board, and we're looking at KEFIS, the Plant Health Inspectorate Service. Then we're also looking for aggregating farms who we can also work with. In terms of diversification, we are looking to diversify the platform to capture the meat market. looking at beef, fish, chicken, pork as well. Pork is also in the conversation. So that's where we're at. So any questions as regards what our platform is?
Hi, Victor. That was a good presentation. I just wanted to know, are you in the market yet? And number two, I noticed that your platform is on an app. So how do you intend to reach the smallholder farmers who mostly use feature phones for their day-to-day operations? And number three, you've put the burden of updating this information on the app onto the farmer. So you as ProTrace, how do you authenticate whatever information they're putting there to be true? Thank you.
You're at least in some smart platform for you to capture this data. If you look at the segments that we're looking to go into first, these are structured farms. Yeah, structured farms who are doing proper documentation, who we can authenticate what they're doing. So we're not primarily looking at someone who's brings Sumariki and taking to Bigomba or something like that. We're looking at structured farms who are working with, for example, if you're working with a supermarket and such kind of farms, very, very structured. In terms of, I'm trying to remember your next question. Sorry?
Future phones versus smartphones.
Yeah, I think I've captured that.
Authenticating the information.
Authenticating the data. Our plan is, further on we're going to have sort of work with people like extension officers. If you remember the kind of partnerships that we're looking at KEFIS. KEFIS has a program that they have sort of extension officers who go to some of these farms. So we're looking to cooperate with them who borrow such kind of a structure to validate the data we have on our platform.
Hello, my name is Mushiri. So, two first question. One is, it doesn't clear to me what your addressable market size actually is. You give the full spectrum. 658 aggregators, exporters, and you have 1.7 million smallholders.
Yes.
So realistically, what is your addressable market? And then secondly, is it then that for the structured farms, you're targeting the aggregators who are buying from them as your primary market, or is that farm itself a primary target, or is it both?
We're looking at both. We're looking at there are structured farms that export directly as a farm, and there are farms that and still you find those structured farms that export directly also working with aggregators, right? So we're looking at both of them. They could use our platform as an independent farm on their own, or they could still use our platform with an aggregator. So you could find an aggregator still working with a structured farm. So either way, it's still a win for us. On to your first question, we have not really defined what our specific segment within the 658 is. But when we are validating our idea and what we are offering is, we realize within those 658, they're still sort of operating rudimentarily. For example, someone requests for products from Europe, and for them to get data, these people actually take pictures and send on WhatsApp. So some of it is still very rudimentary, and that's the kind of people we're looking at. You really don't have a platform where you can showcase your documentation. You're relying on WhatsApp and other kind of communication to process data. Yeah, so that bit, it's still very not clear to us, but I can't put a number on it, but we know there is a big number of them operating like that.
Yeah, if I could ride on the conversation, Kanam and I are colleagues. A-Tech is sort of an innovation hub, and ProTrace is one of our startups. So I've seen him grow this product from an idea to where it is right now. And maybe you can tell them a bit more about the validation, because I think it makes it clear. We went to a farm, I think it's in Kitengela, and there's a question that was asked about putting the burden on the farmer to collect the data. We actually saw it live. So I think why I'm asking to do that is we have people in the room again. And one of our asks where we've been struggling is getting the aggregators to work with us. So Agribora, you guys have 500 agri-hubs. Maybe in there you have farmers who are actually exporting. We work with a certain segment. Not everybody can actually adopt the technology. So we're looking for early adopters who are able to take up a smartphone. And when he explains how it went down, I think it'll be clear. So if you have somebody in your network who we can work with once you get it better, I think, then we'll be happy to collaborate. So I thought let me just chip in with that information, a bit of more background, and Kanam can actually give the case study, if I may.
So one of the farms that we are working with to validate the product, yes, they are structured from the export, mostly to Netherlands and EU. And when you go to the farm, they have physical forms where they put daily data. They have handbooks, they have books where they include some of the farming goods and things like that. And what we realize is if you lose those books, for example, and an extension officer comes to the farm, you don't have the data, it's gone. They don't have systems in place. And they are the ones who showed us what the process looks like. When someone orders from Europe, you get, you send a documentation of we want several tonnage of basil, for example. And then now they take pictures. You harvest, you take pictures, for example, of the chiller truck when it comes to pick the produce from the farm. They take pictures of the temperature of the lorry and send to the client that this lorry has actually left our farm. The temperature is at 18 degrees. So they are trying to show themselves in that if the lorry, for example, gets to the airport and the temperature now has changed to 30 degrees, it is beyond them. So that is the kind of thing that we're looking at. We're looking to remove that burden of you relying on something that can't be, you can't go back to it. There's no backup for it. Yeah. So that is how most of those farms are operating. And when you look at the amounts they lose, I think the other scenario we had is when they're working with aggregators and aggregators buy from several farmers and your produce gets to the airport, Kefis takes a sample of that to do tests on. Now, if Kefis takes a sample from that batch and it fails, the whole batch is destroyed. Now, what happens is the aggregator has no way of tracing that sample to where it came from. Because if you're working with 15 farms and you've just taken one sample, probably it has come from just a single farm. And now you end up destroying produce from 15 farms. When in fact you could avoid that if you use this platform. You can pinpoint where that sample came from. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that good presentation. Because I know product traceability is now the way to go, especially when we are targeting the export market. My only concern is the small-scale farmers, they bring products, small quantities, they have to be aggregated, processed, and then be processed for the export market. So the cost of actually processing this traceability might be sometimes uneconomical for small-scale farmers. Because they are bringing avocados, hash, you bring yours today, another farmer, they are using different agronomic practices. You have to batch them for the export market. And like a large-scale farmer who brings one part of avocado, and you know they come from a common farm. So I think there will be a challenge, but I think it is something that needs to be embraced going forward. You are aware that through the national government, there is the idea of the county aggregation and industrial parks. They are supposed to have industrial parks in every county where products, especially agricultural products, are supposed to be aggregated, processed, and then be taken to the local or export market. Maybe that is something that needs to be sold to the Council of Governors to see. I know the idea has not taken up because very few counties are having operational heights.
Yes.
But if the idea is materialized, hopefully before the the different directions, and then we have these types. This is, I think, one idea that needs to be sold to them so that they can even acquire the software from a county point of view, because now for individuals it's going to be expensive. Thank you.
The government itself has tried to put in place a system for traceability. They had Kenya Horticultural Traceability System, which is yet to pick up. They started building this platform 2018. Up to now, it's not operational. So I believe as private sector, we will also step in to cover that gap. So yeah, thank you for that. We might pursue that, Governor, the Council of Governors on it as well. Thank you.
First, commend you. It's not easy creating something new, something that will revolutionize the way we do our things. You are talking about traceability. Have you put in place technologies to ensure that the records are immutable?
Yes, our system is on.
Okay. Probably which kind of technologies?
We are running blockchain at the back end.
Okay.
We're using blockchain.
Then that was my suggestion. So if you have it, that's it.
Thank you so much.
So I'm really honored to have different expertise with professionals from the agricultural sector, from academia to the industry experts and also startups. And so allow me to introduce Professor Godri Oma Makoha. Give him a hand as he comes. He's a leading geospatial solution expert and associate professor at Taita Taveta University. Professor Makoha has over 15 years of experience in research, teaching and consulting, and with a PhD in atmospheric physics and atmospheric environment. His expertise lies in leveraging geospatial technologies for environmental sustainability and water resource management. He has contributed to numerous national and international initiatives applying geospatial solutions to agricultural and environmental challenges. Let's give him a hand as he today is Sheena Raikondalia. Yes, let's give her a hand as she comes. Sheena is a seasoned professional in the legal, financial service and impact investment sector with over 16 years of experience spanning in Europe and Africa. She's currently the Chief Growth Officer at Kuza One, an agri-tech company digitizing the agricultural value chain. Her vast networks with government, private sector players, investors and donor agencies makes her a key player in fostering innovations and investment in African agriculture. Our third panelist is Bushiri Nyaga. Let's give him a hand as he comes. He is the Executive Director at the Local Development Research Institute. He has over 26 years of experience in technology, user-centered design and policy research. His work focuses on helping government to adopt a holistic approach in ending hunger and poverty. Our last panelist is Dr. Parminas Migwe, with over 35 years of experience in agricultural education, research and consultancy. He's a senior lecturer at the Egerton University, specializing in agriculture and rural science. He has shaped agricultural education and policy through teaching, research and leadership roles. And now that he has retired from academia, he continues to contribute to the sector currently as the chair of the Agricultural Society of Kenya in the Central Rift branch. So allow me to go to our panelists, and just to start, like before we delve into the details, I'd love to hear about a personal moment that shaped your journey into the agriculture and technology. Or like maybe was there a specific event or a specific challenge that made you realize you want to contribute to the agricultural space, and of course maybe also embracing the technology into it. Yeah. So it's just like what was the motivation for you to get into this agricultural space industry? Yeah. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said, I've been involved in agriculture from the very early age. My parents were mainly involved in agriculture, and that's how I got my school fees to take me to high schools, secondary school, high school, and even at the university where I was doing my BSc agriculture. So I came to realize that agriculture is a very, very important area that can be able to support the livelihood of many people. And that is why, even when I went into high school, agriculture was one of my subjects. And when I went into A-levels, I took mathematics, chemistry, and biology because I wanted to do BSc agriculture in the university to further my education in that. Besides that, I'm also working because my father was an extension officer many years back to the independence days, and so I can draw my inspiration actually from there. And since then, when I graduated from agriculture, I've been involved in teaching of agriculture, research with young people, which is very, very useful for me. Egerton University has been known as an agricultural institution for many years. It has trained personnel in extension service, in research, in agribusiness, and it is well known. So I'm happy to be associated with that. And even in my later years now as an agriculturalist, I'm now directly involved with the farmers in the helping the staging of the Nakuru National Agricultural Show, which is one of the most important shows in this country as far as the agricultural exhibition is actually concerned. And so it is a platform where I interact with so many farmers, know their problems in agribusiness, in livestock, in the marketing of their products. And so that interaction has given me even a better insight to know what ails our agricultural sector and what can be done. Finally, through my supervision work, the Masters and the PhD, we have got students who are doing research proposals and projects in agriculture, and we try to motivate them to answer real problems that are affecting the farmers. It is possible to do a research which is not addressing anything. So we try to tell them, can you start with the farmer and end with the farmer, so that the technology packages that we come with, the innovation that we come with, can be able to help. By the way, some of those products, even from the proposals from the research project, can even be upscaled. Not long time ago, one of our PhD students in Egerton was doing some work on the traceability, and the victim mentioned about traceability, but at this time now, it was in the milk. As you know, some of our milk, farmers sometimes add other things to extend the life of milk. Some add hydrogen peroxide and other things. And now the question is, how do you know whether the milk from this farmer has got the antibiotics and other residues? It was difficult previously using, you get a sample, go to the lab, it takes a very long time, but now there are rapid methods. Rapid, quickly you can be able to know. You take a sample at the farm level, a farmer has brought some milk, you sample, and you can be able to know that this farmer milk is contaminated. And if we told her, can you be able to liaise with the industry so that this technology can be upscaled and it can even be patented, and you can even get some income from it, because it has got wide-scale application. Export, either to neighboring countries, even our domestic market, we need products that can be traced from where they came from, so that where there is a problem, it can be identified quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, so maybe Professor Magoha, you can tell us also your story.
Yeah, mine has two dimensions. One is by training, two is by where I come from, my personal life. I was born in a polygamous family, and we are a number. Actually, my father had 4 wives. So we are like 20, so you understand what I'm talking about. Our land was a very big chunk of land. It was around 18 acres. But now my father had to pass it down to us. We are almost 18 boys around there. So each one of us has to take an acre, and we have to plan on it. So because of that, we were doing agriculture on large scale. Currently we can't do it because now everybody, we are grown up now, and everybody has to farm in their own farm. And I have a family, I have to farm there. So what pushed me to the use of these technologies and also just developing that interest is how I can be able to maximize the little that I have, so that I can be able to get the maximum benefit out of it. That really pushed me, and of course I have formal training in earth observation, and using those technologies, coupling the technology and the passion, actually pushed me into agriculture. So yeah.
So we got a truck, and we got, we collected it all the way from Nairobi to Marsabit, we documented the whole thing, and we got food then. Now I'm thinking, when I die, hopefully not in 30 years, but in a long time, are my daughters going to do the same thing? I mean, are we always going to be this nation of like drought, begging, starving, when we have so much potential? And so for me, my interest in agriculture comes from agribusiness, because I truly believe that in Kenya, we can grow our own food for ourselves, for our people, we can export it, and we can make money while doing it. Yes. And I think that's the part I want to say. It is not sort of a charity thing, donor thing, it's actually a huge business opportunity. We can make money in agriculture. We need to change our mindset from agriculture to agribusiness, feed ourselves and feed the world. So that's why I do it.
Wow.
But I came from tech. I spent a lot of time in tech, but I came full circle about 10 years ago when we were sitting with farmers and the officials from around the country, actually, talking about the problem of distorted market prices for agricultural inputs, particularly fertilizer. And we thought that's an easy problem to solve. And 2 years later, we found out no. It's less tech and more social, more political, and then we took on that challenge. How do you work with farmers so that they can harvest more of the thing that they really enjoy growing? And how do you try and connect them to the right markets? So that led us to working with about 300,000 farmers in 3 counties over 4 years, some of whom we're still working with today, to try and get them access to new technologies and not necessarily ICT. Some of them are seed, new varieties of seed, getting them exposed to new agricultural practices, more what we consider climate smart agriculture, trying to create the partnerships between industry and farmers and their farmer groups so that they can get a market for their produce, and just trying to figure out how to do that in a more low friction way. So in the process of all that, we ended up again going back to build tech. But a lot of the tech we've been building at the local development research institute where I work has actually been tech that we're trying to solve our own pain. So I say that we're in the business of pain relief. So we build tech to trace the inputs we were giving to farmers, so we can come back and check how that farmer who got that particular variety experienced it, and be able to tell that story. Because we realized we were giving out a lot of sample seed, but going back to find that farmer because they were given by an intermediary farmer was an idea. Then we realized we don't know whether we're safe with our crop in the field because we started growing stuff, so probably the one farmer over there. And then we started asking, what if I could get an early warning? What if I could get an early warning for my farm, my area, that there's imminent risk of crop failure? So we started building an early warning system that uses that observation, GIS, artificial intelligence, and that's going into alpha, pre-beta next quarter, and we get a chance to see how that works. So now I'm in the thick of it. From tech and food sample, I'm working with council on issues to do with data and data capacity, thinking about how you share data across departments and ministries, but then how do you make that data available to the general public and to the farmers, how do people build tech, how does that take it out of the farmers, access it, so that whole value chain is my life now.
Now from your expertise, I wanted to understand it also, maybe also the presentations from the pitches. Many smallholder farmers lack access to these digital tools. So what do you think, even from your expertise and how you've worked with these different stakeholders before, how can governments and even private entities bridge this digital device, and how can we ensure that we have more access to digital tools?
We can continue to do something, and these are the things that government identified and they began to do to try and close the digital divide. I think some of you might remember the elimination of taxes on mobile phones, and computers and components. Some of these things that really drove the rise of ICT in Kenya. We stopped short. There's still a lot that hasn't happened, and I think that's a good thing that ended too early. And that also includes how we price and tax access to the internet, especially on mobile, and how do you make that more affordable? And that's a macro issue that in my view, can only be solved, mostly be solved by government, because we can't cut our own individual tax on private device. But the second thing now we have to do is now thinking about counties, thinking about private sector, people with digital tools and access. We need to do the hard work. We need to go out there and meet people and run the lab. We're learning that through our processes. We've learned that through our processes and the kind of work we're doing right now with that warning system. We have plugged into what companies are doing with other partners, and collaborating with them to get the information about what our tools look like. And we run farmer field schools with farmer groups around the country, about 7 counties at the moment. What we've now done is integrated into our farmer field school curriculum as a cross-cutting session for digital tools. So we're not just telling them about our tools, we're telling them about other people's tools. So if we meet ProTrace and you have a product and can go live in a particular area, we include it with the curriculum that we're training in our farmer field schools in those places. And we also teach them about their digital rights. We bring in some digital governance issues around that as well, so that they have a bit more all-rounded awareness. And what that does is, if they find that a particular tool really solved a problem for them and delivered real pain relief, they turn into evangelists. We used to say that the definition of an evangelist is just one person who put another where they own bread. Let's put bread in their hands. They will tell the others. So if you're cash strapped, you're bootstrapping, and you may not need to run a big TV ad campaign on vernacular radio, but there are farmer groups spread across the country. It just takes time to find them, getting into their meetings, showing them your product, asking them what they think, going back and iterating, and kind of doing that hard work, which if you used to just be in a techie, that is not your comfort zone, but it's a place where you need to go out and do.
Thank you so much for that. For you, Sheena, I know Kuzawan is one of the revolutionizing, it's actually an agri-tech that is revolutionizing the agricultural value chain. So what are some of the innovations that you've implemented and how have they impacted smallholder farmers?
So I realized I forgot to introduce the company. So I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Biashara. Kuzawan is a network, and I don't know if you've heard of it, but everything that we've been talking about, I think both of you, the Agribora, Econ, all of this, everything that we've been talking about faces, I think, boils down to 2 things. Number 1, there's a lack of trust in this ecosystem. Whether it's farmers, from buyers, brokers, etc., we don't trust each other. We don't speak the same language, and there's a good reason for it, historically, etc. The second one is it's a data, information problem, right? Information asymmetry. What do I mean by that? As a farmer, I actually don't know what to grow that's going to give you the most money. If I know what that is, how much it's going to cost me, how much I'm going to get out of it, how long will it take, I don't have that information. On the other hand, if I'm a buyer, if I'm an agro-processor, I'm a big off-taker, I actually don't know in the country what has been grown, how much has been grown, can I get it every month, all of that. Now add in the mix of climate change and the rest of it. So there's a lot of information asymmetry. Now, there's smart people in Kenya. There's smart people across the world, but they're extremely smart techies. And in fact, in this room, we see so many who have got lots and lots of solutions. Your solution, everything that you've been said. What is the biggest challenge? How are you going to get your solution to the farmers? So farmers come across maybe 300 plus apps solutions. I was reading an AgTech report, I think from the World Bank or something, that said in Kenya, there's about 300 AgTech solutions. Now, ask how many of those have reached over 1 million farmers, or 6.7 million farmers that there are in Kenya? Even the ones that reach the farmers are just confused. I have an MBA, I'm a lawyer by training. If you gave me 20 different solutions, even I don't know. which one it is. Add to that academia. I'm sitting with lots of academics. The academia is so hard to understand, right? Like, I'm trying to read these papers and I'm like, I don't understand this climate smart, this. How is a farmer going to understand it? So again, information symmetry. How do you get that information to the farmers? So that's number one. The second point is, one company cannot do it on its own. Whether you're a donor, whether you're an ag tech, whether you're a big corporate, whether you're an academic, you can't do it on our own. We have to change that mindset. We have to work together. And we all talk about collaboration, right? Let me tell you something. You cannot collaborate when you're competing. And there are certain things, as ag techs, as academia, as government, will be competing in. Leave those aside. Carry on competition. Competition is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But there are things we can collaborate on. So let's find those things that we can collaborate on, be realistic, and then the ones we can't collaborate on, please carry on competing. So that's the Kuza model. What have we done? We believe that the solution is, let's create a digital distribution network to the farmers. Now, how do we do that? Is similarly, we train young people, we call them agripreneurs. And we're in 43 counties within Kenya. We're in 7 countries, but in Kenya, we have partnerships with about 26 county governments. And what we've done is we train these young people, it's like a mini MBA. They go through a vigorous 15-week training program, starting with mindset. Try and teach them about agribusiness. You become an agripreneur. So when you're now going to meet your farmers, you're not seeing them as a trainer who's getting paid a stipend. No. You're not an agri-extension officer who's getting a stipend or getting paid by government or getting a salary. No. You're an agribusiness. You are trying to understand the needs of your client, which is the farmers, and provide them solutions to solve their pain. And what we do at Kuza is we enable that. So what we have done is we realized that technology can help. So we have digitized almost 42 plus value chains in like TikTok videos. Who's seen TikTok videos? Yeah, people are all young. In 10 languages. What that means is you no longer have to go and explain complex things, but you get the complex things from academia and this. You digitize it in 3-minute TikTok videos, and our young person goes, we partner them with about groups of farmers, 10 groups or 200 farmers each in 10 to 20 groups. And they go with their devices, which is what we provide, which doesn't need internet, which doesn't need electricity. It's like a TV screen. And the farmer chooses. You know, give dignity back to the farmer. Don't tell the farmer, they're smart people, they're smarter than us. We go there surviving. Let them choose what they want to grow, what they want to learn. Our agripreneur facilitates what they want to learn. With soil, if it's about tomato, how do you grow, what soil testing you need, everything. And then the farmer might say, oh, how do I test my soil? This is where the agripreneur can say, look, we have a digital platform, a marketplace, where we say, these are the 5 soil testing companies. This is how much they cost, you choose. And the young person makes money. For this to work, all the ad techs join in. You've got a solution, plug it in. And now what we're seeing that, and interestingly, we're seeing this works. We're seeing the agripreneurs are making money, we're seeing the farmers are making income, it is working. But now we're saying that's not enough. We're still the same problems. Farmers are still growing what they're growing, there's still quality issues, there's traceability issues, there's still lack of finance, all of these things. So we said, why not start with off-takers first, similar. So now we've got to the off-takers and we've said, what do you want? And they've given us very specific requirements. Quality, consistency, etc. Now we're saying, let's train the farmers using the agripreneurs to grow what the market wants. That reduces your post-harvest. Instead of being 70% rejected, maybe you'll get to 10% rejected, etc. So that's what we're working on now. We're starting with the farmers and working backwards. We cannot do it ourselves, and we don't want to do it ourselves. Why should we do tracking? Why should we go and invent tracking when you have traceability when you have done it? Why should we go and try and do credit scoring when you have already done it? Why should we go and try and find the farmers when they're already on our network? So those things we can work together on. We even transporters, we're not doing the transporting, the logistics. We've seen companies, ad-tech companies who try to do all of that. Buy trucks, do it. Why? They're transporters, just plug in. They're logistics, just plug in. County governments, you've got these aggregation centers, plug in. Posta has told us, we've got like offices, post offices and everything, plug in. So what we're trying to create is an ecosystem. We're trying to make the open system where we bring everybody, and everybody needs. We are a big corp, which means profit plus purpose. But we are not, that's how it has to be. Everybody has to make money.
So it's a win-win for everyone. Thank you so much. I really love the fact that you say you are working backwards, like you look at the end and then you try and go backward. I think that's a very interesting. Now creating an ecosystem is really awesome. And now to you, Prof. We've seen from even the pitches that have been done with the startups and even Nyaga talking about the technology, the use of Earth observation, Sheena talking about data, use of data. We've seen, I mean, you can see even now from the data and the geospatial technologies such as remote sensing, GIS, the data aspect. It's been used to try and make agricultural productive and just create advancement in that. But I want you to talk about what do you think now that you've interacted, now you have the technology in terms of the geospatial, the Earth observation. What are the biggest challenges that you think? What are the biggest challenges or barriers that you feel like is kind of holding us back to adopt these geospatial solutions into smallholder farming, and how can we address that? Yes, maybe now you can talk about the barriers, and also maybe on top of that you can just try and talk about how we hear about these small-scale farmers, right, and these big technologies and the remote sensing stuff. So sometimes it can be very complicated, right? Like to understand, to break down those kind of big, like the use of satellite technology. So in what simple ways can we use so that we can make this technology sound easy to use?
Oh, thank you. That's a very good question.
Maybe let's start with the first one.
Yeah. Before we understand the barriers, probably we understand first the geospatial technologies that are there that can be able to support small-scale farmers. We have in geospatial technologies, we shall have like 3 segments. We have the ground segment, we have the airborne segment, and also the space segment. So probably I will have that lecture one day. But what I want to say that we can be able to explore. People don't know actually. They usually think about geospatial technologies as the space technologies alone. But we have those one on the ground segment and also on the airborne segment, which are very key if you want to do localized kind of management of your farm. But let me talk about the barrier. The first barrier that comes when we talk about geospatial technology and small-scale farming is the size of the farm. I think Bill was struggling talking about some of the things that he was talking about. Of course, I totally understand because he wants to use the available technologies. The cheap technologies give us very low resolution. The expensive technologies give us the high resolution. Resolution in terms of 3 things. First is the spatial. They have detectors, and those detectors are able to map out an area and image. What they do, they usually actually average the whole area. So if this area has crops, it has water, our stream of water, it has another crop, and it has a tree. If that tree covers more than half, the whole pixel will look like a tree. It will not be able to show all those other things. That is one of the biggest barriers, that the cost of the technology is very high. If you want a technology that can be able to see those small plots, actually you need a resolution of less than a meter, or then about 1 meter, 2 meter. And those ones, if I tell you the price for even the government will not be able to afford, unless we develop that capability ourselves. That is one. 2, there is also, maybe this one I could have brought it late as the last one, but it's also good to say the resistance to change. We have been going to the field and showing the people, in fact, I do pro bono work, of just showing the farmers how technology can be able to help them, those ones who have capacity to use those technologies, but you find them resisting because they are used to traditional methods. That's one of the biggest barriers I always face when I meet these farmers. They tell you that my father has been planting here maize for all those years, and I'm asking him, how was the production? Yeah, the production has been dwindling, and we understand, but we have been trying to pump in fertilizer to try and improve things. But we tell him we can be able to do some suitability analysis to see whether it works or not, and say no, I can't change. So there is also, of course, there is resistance to change. There is also the issue of one thing also I noticed as the barrier is the when we were collecting data, we realized that there is a lot of resistance. You know, for this special technology to work, we develop models. Models that can be able to use the satellite data. The data that is collected on the ground is very good and very important to calibrate the system, to validate the system. And you go to the farm and you say, you are involved in this, you need to allow us access to your farm so that we can be able to do some ground-based measurements. And they say, no one is stepping in my farm. I think the experience that I have had with the county government, with national government, they come here, they do things, they sell our data. So, and they go, they don't give us anything. So, that also has become a very big barrier, of which I will talk about how we can be able to solve that. And also there is the issue of us in academia, we develop good models. And someone said that we put it in angels' language. You know, we can't be able to we can't communicate, okay? So, but of course, that's also another barrier. Kenya has some of the brilliant people around the world, and it's known. If you go abroad, you will realize, people will tell you that Kenyans, where Kenyans are, they usually are retained in those laboratories. When they go somewhere, there are people who really push themselves. And in Kenya, we do very good studies. We have done very good studies, which of one, actually I will talk about a bit later. But just getting this to the farmers and telling them that we have a solution here, groundbreaking. We have so many patents in our organizations, which means we have done something that has never been done. And we have developed a solution for our people. But nonetheless, these solutions are just lying in our cupboards, in our offices. And we are just smiling because we will be promoted tomorrow. Yeah, this is my invention. When you go to the conferences, you carry very big briefcases, just to show them that indeed you are a walking machine. Yeah, you have figured things out, but we are not solving our problems. We don't do them with farmers in mind, and that is also has become a very big barrier. Now, how do we solve this? First, I start with the farmers. Farmers must come in groups, associations, because in institutions like ours, we are willing to work with farmers who have come under one umbrella. If you tell me to go to a particular farm, I'll just laugh. Individual, I will not go. However big your farm is, I will not come. But if I hear there is an organization of farmers, an association where farmers have come together and they are working together, it's easier to give them that knowledge. One or two or three among them, probably they will have an office with some few staff. You can be able to train these people and pass this technology to them. so that they can continue providing those services to these farmers. That's one. We solve the technological barrier by just us coming together, coalescing and working together. Issues of resistance to change. And I want to thank the county government of Morana. The county government of Morana has done a lot of civic education. These people are not coming here to help you. They are coming here to help us so that we can help them. And because of that, Morana County is one of the best counties. Richie and your group, I think I can give you the contact of the people. They are very receptive to change. So because of that, we have had we are doing a very big project. Because of that, we have been able to do a lot for them. And from that project, actually, they will receive more help from the government, more help from their development partners. We call them that, so that they don't feel like they are donors. They are development partners, so that they can be able to, and also the private sector. Yeah, like Kuza. Now they know where to plug in. If they see the government has, the county government has created an enabling environment, they will not go to a county which is confused, where the government doesn't care. They will go to a structured county government which understands their farmers. They have even put them in their association. They have extension of such very good network. It's easier for this private sector, for the government institution to plug in. And that's where the Kenya Space Agency plugged in, and we are supporting it.
I wanted to add something which Prof has mentioned here in terms of barriers to farmers using technology. Yet this technology is what is going to transform our subsistence sector into vibrant commercial sector. As you may be aware or not aware, majority of our farmers are aging. Most of them are over 60 years. A very large proportion are aging. Our young people have not taken up agriculture very, very seriously. Yet, when you look at farming, if it's going to be receptive to technology, we must also address this age gap, such that we entice our young people right from the primary, secondary, and even the university, yes, so that they come to like agriculture. Why am I saying this? Because young minds are more receptive to new ideas. They are not cast on the old way of doing things. You may have realized that within the banking system, financial system, many of the banks have employed younger people. Because the software they are using, they are changing now and then to improve efficiency, to minimize risk. And so the older people who are working in the bank that time, by the time the last software, another one has come, they will not catch up. But they saw that when you have young people, they are more receptive, they are quick to change, and so they can be able to do that. So it is very, very, very important that we bring our young people, entice them to join agriculture, and we know that once we get younger people with more education, they are going to be receptive to this idea. I have seen in most of our students who are doing masters, doing theses, social studies, and they say, I'm doing my study in the Kiambu, and one of the components of my research is to the demographic of the farmers. What is their age? What is their education? When you look at the farmers being categorized by education, those will be primary education, basic education, those will be tertiary, those will be nothing. You see very few farmers have actually tertiary education. Most of them are stuck somewhere there. And so when they come to new ideas, it becomes a problem. Government must also be able to support these technologies by ensuring that they subsidize it, by ensuring that the tax is not very, very, very high. I'm talking about even mobile telephony, which has transformed so many. I think if that represented the phone can be able to access some of this information. So if this gadget is not accessible because of the cost, then it becomes a problem. If this information is not accessible because of there are no hotspots, yes. I know the government has mentioned about hotspots in different areas of the county to ensure that young people, the farmers, can be able to get this information. So it's very, 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 very important that the government chips in to subsidize this, because sometimes the cost can be prohibitive in accessing this technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much. Because actually, that is one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. Like, even when Prof was mentioning, when we go to our farmers and they say, this is how my father has been practicing. Because I remember when I was collecting data for my master as well, you try to ask farmers why they are practicing a particular cropping pattern, and for them it's just like, my father was practicing in the generation over years, and we are used to that. Yes. So my question was how do we ensure that we complement, the traditional way of doing things, and now the modern way? And I think you've really answered it in a very, you've answered it in a very good way.
Yeah, it is very, very important that we transform our agriculture, because if we don't transform our agriculture, we are going to remain stuck in subsistence only for our families, for our stomach.
Yes.
We don't produce surplus for the market. Yet, opportunities are there. I think Peter presented a very good area, the use of this they are to be able to access export market. Right now, I think there's a very big market for export of avocado, export of agricultural products, export of herbs. These are opportunities, but they come with the requirements which must be met. I think I was telling one of my colleagues here about the AGOA. African growth opportunity. To give African countries to access the US market, which is one of the biggest markets in terms of absorption capacity. They are able to buy, to pay for the product. But one of the things they actually emphasize, quality of that food product, quality of that apparel. The product that you are taking there must be traceable, so that if somebody consumes honey in Los Angeles, it is possible to know where did that honey actually come from. It requires a very, very good way of traceability.
Does that mean agriculture cannot work? No. Agriculture is one of the least productive sectors. You know what least productive means? That means there's the most opportunity. Don't go to a sector which is already efficient. There's no way to make money. Where you make money is where there is no productivity. This is where technology comes in. This is where science comes in. This is where marketing comes in. I'll give you a very simple example. Kale in Europe, the US, everywhere is a superfood. Do you know what is a member of the kale family? Sukuma. What do we call sukuma? Poor man's food.
Yes.
Yeah? So it's just even basic marketing. I'll give you another example. When I was pregnant with baby number 1, baby number 2, you're not that bothered. But baby number 1, when I was pregnant, the doctor said to me, oh my God, you need to have good protein, you need amaranth and all this. So I was like, okay, amaranth. I went, I found this amaranth cookies and snacks and all. I come home, my nanny, she goes to me, she's like the shosho to my kids, she goes to me, this is terere. I can make this for you at home. Terere is poor man's food. We don't even eat terere ourselves because we consider it. And terere is amaranth, which is high value, which I paid so much money for that. I was just like, seriously? Yeah, it's super food. So what I'm saying is, there's huge business opportunities to think even our traditional crops, traditional medicines, so many things, right? So when I say we need to get youth in agriculture, it's like any business. You will only get youth if they can find a way to make money, and there is money, we just have to figure that out. And technology, already everything is technology driven, as it is. But if you think that young people are going to come and sweat and toil the way our grandfathers and grandmothers and they did and carry on with it, of course they're not going to do it, and good for them. Don't do it, it's stupid. If you want, we need to figure out ways to make agriculture profitable.
Yes.
Agri-business, mindset shift. So I'm not one of those people who are trying to get youth in agriculture in the way it is right now. But what I truly believe is there's huge opportunity. And if we change our mindset, that is what we'll get. Think agri-business. And I right back to the beginning, we can feed ourselves, we can feed the world, and we can make a lot of money doing it. That's what we should be doing. And in the process, create jobs. In my dream is, I want to see a factory, a manufacturing plant in every village. Why not?
Nyanga, do you have something to add to that on how we can ensure that more youths come into it? And actually, maybe after that, maybe you can tell us, now that you are in this policy space, how can we use that to accelerate the innovation in the agricultural sector?
Thank you. So, I think she said it very well. We've been saying the wrong thing. And we say, let's go make agriculture sexy. No, please. Let's make other things. But agriculture I think what we should be selling and what we should be talking about is agribusiness. The words agriculture, talk about agriculture in Kenya, what it connotes is a specific part of a value chain. People think about agriculture as a production conversation, and yet that's just one small part of an entire value chain, even if you're thinking about maize. From knowledge to inputs to growing to post-harvest to value addition. There's so many people who can play a part and make money, from mechanization to spray services to aggregation, transportation. I think if we were to tell the story better, we'll tell the story about where the opportunities are in the cracks. And that's why I think we are missing out opportunities to collaborate. If you look at the biggest stories from the creative industry that make people say, I want to be a rapper, it's because of the stories that you're seeing on TikTok, that you're seeing on Instagram. You're seeing, this guy is a baller, he's going out there, he has a big car.
Flashy cars.
Yeah, but right now, and I see, because I moved out of Nairobi. When I tell you I became a farmer, I'm serious about it. Some of the most amazing, big, expensive cars and houses I am seeing in upcountry. When I look out my office window at a particular homestead that looks like it was copy and pasted right out of Bunda. Completely the palm trees and the split levels and the 4 SUVs outside. But what's that story and why am I telling it? The story is in Mwea, Kenya's largest rice production still. Just from young people and the kinds of things that they're doing there, proliferation of meaning, you would think it's oversaturated. It's not. They're doing a lot of work there. So the storytelling, I think, is a big opportunity. And we need to do a better job with it. Second, from a policy perspective, I think we are unable to connect those dots because our interventions have been disconnected. They happen in isolation, in silos. So what happened to the 4K clubs? Those were amazing things. Young farmers, still going on, but young farmers as a club and a club network is not where it could be. ASK has been a big champion, but young farmers have been doing better than 4K clubs. We downgraded to a certain extent agriculture in our school systems. But we still talk about agriculture being quote-unquote a backbone of the economy. And I think we're not joining those dots. If agriculture is that serious, it should look that serious in the education system, it should look that serious in our storytelling, and we really should make it that serious in the supportive services that we are creating and strengthening. So for me, I find it a tragedy that we are in this day and age talking about the difficulty of farmers accessing credit, and we have a multi-billion shilling company called AFC that I'm not sure whether it's alive or dead. A big office in Embu, but I don't know anyone at the moment who has had a facility from AFC. Why? Those are the things that were already there, were thought through. There are people in the 70s who joined those dots. But over the years, we have dismantled and tagged at threads, and now I think we are living in a place where we're trying to figure out how we close this gap. And yet, we have science at a level we didn't have in the 70s. We have technology and infrastructure that we didn't have, but then we have integration across industry and across geographies that we didn't have then. So we really would be ready fast, but if we didn't do it yesterday, the best time to start is today.
Exactly.
Awesome. So maybe that was really good. I think we should maybe go to the audience, and if you have questions, maybe you can direct it to the panel, and then we can just do one round, and then we close the 30. So maybe we can.
Thank you so much. Very good question. Very good conversation. My name is Anne Lawi, and I've been in the space of supporting startup entrepreneurs across about a decade in Kenya and across Africa. So my question today, it's not a question, it's some thoughts, but also a reflection. You can feel free to respond to it. In my journey of supporting entrepreneurs, one of the key things, especially in agriculture and in agribusiness, has been finding them. And one of my background is investment, so I run a fund that facilitated investments to different startups across the continent. Now, as in my journey of supporting entrepreneurs and investments, one of the biggest barriers that I have experienced is identifying business model, especially in agribusiness, that are able to scale and are not stagnant in growth, in terms of numbers, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of scaling, and duplication of the same across different geography. The reason for saying that is because we know as much as we have so much commonalities across the continent, and we know the next population, the next biggest population will be in Africa, right? And by 2050 or the next 15 years. But also at the same time, with that kind of growth that we're expecting, we expect to feed our people. We expect to move things from point A to point B, logistic, transportation, mechanization, for agriculture to thrive. But the biggest barrier I have seen or we have experienced as we walk the journey of growth with entrepreneurs is with the business models at scale. I would be happy to hear, and I know Sheena is in this space, Sheena, what are the different business models that you have seen that we need to amplify and put out there for most people to see and see how they can duplicate those, not copy and paste, but see where they can adjust and adopt in the regions that they come from, one. Secondly, when it comes to agri and ag space in general, the areas that I have seen with the greatest potential is agro-processing. Agro-processing in a sense, if we do the right, and it's a lot of different touch points across the value chain. There's a production, we do the production right, we do the transportation right, and then we get right quantities and quality at the same time. Then agro-processing give us the oomph that we're looking for, because one, we are able to create markets and we don't have to, one of the other holdback is exporting raw products and we're not, extracting the value here. So agro-processing gives us that. One of the investment company that I know that have done quite some work in there is Sweetunda. Is it no Sweetunda? Forget it, across those lines. She have an agro-processing in Embu. She have set up everything. But the cost of doing that is so heavy for any entrepreneur. But also the barriers are different policies and licensing that one have to, the jumps, the loops that one have to jump for them to be able to set up as such. And I know we have two agencies here, and I know they're not government, but also how do we harmonize some of these processes to make it easier for entrepreneurs as they start out? And maybe your experience, you may not have experience, actual answer, but your experiences in this journey, and how do we have the right conversation in the right rooms to improve these environments?
Yeah, and I think it's spot on. And you've got entrepreneurs sitting in the room, and you can see that it is actually very, very difficult to get revenues in this space. Because if you think about it, as you mentioned, the revenue side is where does the money come from? It's like the off-takers, etc. But they're facing so many difficulties, right? The reality is the biggest agriculture, the biggest stakeholders are smallholder farmers. Like that is the majority of them. A lot of these smallholder farmers, they're less than $1, $2 to $3 a day. So it's actually really, really difficult. And so you need to have business models that are based on kind of volumes, right? But then those comes with challenges. So what kind of business models are there that are replicable? I think the biggest issue that we have here is economies of scale. We're dealing with most of the agritechs, most of the agribusinesses in the States are dealing with smallholder farmers. Smallholder farmers have very little money, and so your profit margins are very, very small. So anything small will mean your business model goes from profitable to non-profitable. Like it's in every state of business, but it's particularly difficult in agribusiness. So what we need to do in terms of agribusiness models is figure out how to do things differently. And it goes back to the first point that I raised. We have to collaborate. If every single startup is trying to get to the same farmer, right? The same 100,000 farmers, right? That are on every TV show, are brought in every conference, every startup talks about them. It's not going to work. We have to figure out, and this is why this digital distribution network is really, really important. Because farmers need a whole bunch of services, right? but the cost of getting to a single farmer is really, really high. I think a recent study that Mexico showed it was like $30 to get to one farmer. So it doesn't make sense. So we need to figure out how do you lower that distribution cost, number one. Number two, in terms of our business model, is we really have to start thinking, we are already operating at very, very thin margins. How do we get bigger margins? How do we get business models that actually make sense? And as much as you said that Africa is different, our biggest market is Pan-Africa. That is our biggest market. And there's a lot of similarities. And if you look at the bordering, if you look at like the northern borders versus Uganda, etc., there's a lot of opportunities there. So there's no right answer. These are the 3, 4, 5 business models that I would say would work. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The reality is we have to figure out, it's a volume space on one side, but there is big markets, and it's trying to how do you model to. And that I think leads to your process of question.
Maybe I can add something. That's in terms of business model that we are looking into, we need to be aware that all agricultural commodities can have the value chain from farm level. There is the farm gate, there is transportation, there is agro-processing, there is wholesaling, retailing, until the product comes to the consumer. It is right now, there are models that are available to analyze the value chain and to have the value chain analysis of any agricultural commodity. May they be macadamia, passion fruits, carrots, potatoes, Irish potatoes, and see where is the weakness. So that now, when you come in to intervene, you intervene at the right place. Right now, in some places, agronomic aspect is not a problem. If you go to Janaba and they tell them produce more cabbages, you are not using fertilizer or manure. They will tell you now, that is nonsense. Already the cabbages are rotting here. What we need to do is these cabbages need to be processed, they need to be harvested, and then you have dehydrated meat for that can be able to have a longer shelf life. So, if you are going to have a business model, it must target a particular commodity. Of course, the volume must be there, and it must be at the right intervention. Within the value chain, I hope I will be able to have a few minutes to present my presentation because I've mentioned about the agricultural value chain. Once we identify the weaknesses, then we intervene. Industrialists, entrepreneurs can come in, people like Victor can also come in to address certain areas of the value chain so that we unlock the product, or what we are calling currently the food system, so that the product can be able to flow. Yeah? Marketing sometimes is a little problem for many of the product. Yeah? If you can adjust the marketing aspect of it, then there will be a pulling effect. One of them, for example, coffee. Kenya used to produce almost 500,000 metric tons of coffee. Today, we are doing 150,000 tons. What happened from 1970? Where I came from, coffee was one of the products that educated me.
So we are very happy to engage with partners who are building things that we really do feel coming to add value. We've known AgriBorder for a long time. So Kizito is being part of our ecosystem for a while. The amount of work we've done on Earth observation, GIS, has been phenomenal. Yeah. So any product that they produce, I think for us, because we've seen them for a number of years, always happy to find ways of collaborating with them, and including whatever they're doing that is farmer facing. Into our farmer-facing activities. And I think for projects, it's the same thing. The moment your product is ready and you feel that you're ready to put it in the hands of slightly structured, right? Yeah, then we'd be happy to take you along. And we did that for Microsoft back in 2020, 2021. They had an agri-bot that they're rolling out in a couple of counties. It was an interesting experience for them. It was a learning experience for us. Watch others make mistakes so that you don't have to make them. And Microsoft is a big company. They make big ones. So we enjoyed it. We enjoyed learning. But the opportunity that we do have is also to learn from each other, because then we also get to share, what we're seeing. Because remember, we're also tech. We're tech native, really, as an institution, but we're high contact, low tech in our engagement, in our interactions with partners. So that's something that we'll be happy to engage. And I think just to mention something that's a big lesson for us, has been a big lesson for us all along, is I was talking about trying to find a way of addressing fear. Right now there's a lot of fear about maybe investor statements about be analysts, right? Things like that push people out from digital spaces, digital platforms, and things like that, and that includes farmers. So what you end up finding is sometimes you have a fantastic digital tool. You have people sending photos of things and keeping things on paper and sending them up. And then you come. Sometimes when you walk in that door and they listen to you and they seem happy, but they don't seem to be pulling the trigger, sometimes it's not your fault. Your product just entered an environment where they need a whole lot more comfort before they can take that first step. So the risk averseness of marketing, including brokers and aggregators, is something that we always have to keep in mind. For government, I think government forgets at a high level how risk averse the farmers are. But when you come down to the lower level, our extension officers are very aware about how risk averse they are. And that gap gets seen in terms of the kind of things that are getting introduced for farmers to try. And a lot of people does not have a safety net. You're telling me to try this new fenugreek, but I didn't know how to spell fenugreek. But you promised me it is good for our market. I don't plan to miss that year and plant fenugreek. Fenugreek fails. How will I pay school fees? I will take my kids. That whole adoption of new ideas, adoption of new technology sometimes is based on a real risk aversion that we need to keep in mind, even when we are recommending new things and new tools. So that's something to keep in mind for Agribora and coaches and the rest of us.
I mean, I can add, sorry, my name is Sheena, but Rena is also very good. But it is Sheena. It actually means God's gracious gift in Irish, just by the way. But no, I mean, likewise, what we're saying is one of the biggest challenges that even we're finding in terms of the technology is the tech is cool. And that's why with Kusa, it's not about just the technology, the open network, it's people plus platform. Actually, one of the reasons why we're seeing adoption is because our agripreneurs, number one, are from that village. They're not Nairobi people who just come, done a training and left. They're from there. And in fact, when we speak to the agripreneurs, some of the funniest things about why they do what they do is not some legal fear. They're like, that's my grandma. My mom will, my social is going to chop at me if I don't do this. So you see that social trust, that social thing is really, really there. So they build trust over time. And so for us, we're saying we have built that trust with our agripreneurs and our farmers. We can't solve everything. We don't want to solve everything. It's not possible. So definitely keen to plug and partner. The difficulty is when the expectations become very high, when you think, okay, my solution is awesome, the farmers are going to take it up. No, they might not, it will take time. If you have the patience and you want to walk the journey, we're very open. I mean, that's exactly what we're going to do as Kusa. We want to create that ecosystem. And before we even go into tech integrations and share APIs, I think it's just having more of these discussions. Let's get all of us, in the ag tech space or in the ag space or whatever, and let's have roundtable conversations. How can we partner? What should we not partner? What are we collaborating on? What are we competing on? And let's stick to what we're collaborating on. And also sometimes in the ag tech space, we really think we're the bee's knees, we're ag techs. And then I think, and this goes to your point about the businesses, when we think we're techs or we're startups, actually the majority of the business is traditional business. So we need to figure out a way to integrate with the traditional business. If we can't integrate with the traditional businesses, we will never scale. So that's what I was saying.
All right, thank you. I know you have any Malaki, but we have time. Time is of essence. You're dedicated to someone?
No.
Okay.
I just want to say that this has been really informative and very well timed. I'm working with the Estonia Center for International Development, and we're actually putting out a request for proposal to do a workshop with Agritech, Mashinani. So I think these are good forums, and I'd like to share the proposal with you as well, so that we can be able to reach those farmers entering them with some literally focus.
And take them to Estonia. Like
Let's start with Estonia. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start because today I'm not supposed to be here today. I'm supposed to be in Murang'a today because we are doing crop cuts. And the reason why we are doing crop cuts, there is a project we are doing for the government of Kenya through the Kenya Space Agency. With other partners, we have partners from Ministry of Agriculture, Cairo. We also have Centrat. We also have SIAT. We are working together so that we can be able to create agricultural information management system. And the very reason for that is because of the way our government makes decisions. We are starting with Murang'a's pilot project, but of course we want to do for the whole country so that we have just one system. I was telling my colleagues we want to have something like disaster but for agriculture, so that the government can be able to make informed decisions. When we say we can be able to get the yield that Bill was talking about, yeah? Can we get this yield? And know in this year in Kenya, because our state food is maize, how many bags will we harvest this year even before we harvest? We can be able to do that prediction, so that the government know how many bags they have, and we are purely using machine learning. We are by machine learning, but we are using deep learning part of machine learning, whereby we can be able to give the model different conditions, and so that it can be very rigorous, so that it can create its own brain and try to learn various conditions, various parameters, and it can be able to give us the yield. The small pilot we did in Kitale, it gave us an accuracy of over 85%. That's why I was asking him. Now, with that, I assure you can be able to make data-driven decisions across the country. If you know that this year we will harvest 8,000 tons of wheat, you say, how much do we need as a country? We need to import, and import before even the misfortune hits. So we are working on that project. We have been given farmers by the Murang'a County government, and we are working with them well. They are volunteering also on the project, and hopefully by the end of this year, we already have preliminary preliminary results from the model, but we are planning to close everything for Murang'a. We are moving out by December this year. So by then we shall have a product. Probably we shall welcome some of you. If you are interested, we will welcome you on the day we will be handing over. We are not doing the model to keep to ourselves. We are doing pro bono work. We will hand over to the counties the model with the source code, with the everything, with the infrastructure, everything that we have built. We shall give to them so that we shall train them for free, so that they can be able to use those tools, and so that also the tech can be able, people in tech, the innovators can be able to plug in and provide now solutions. You know, we shall have given the platform, yeah? So you can also plug in, say, you have this data in Murang'a County, and we have this solution for you. Can you plug in? Because of that, because of us, they took some GIS staff to Ramani to train. You see, we have created a job for the private sector. And the ideas that I'm seeing here, the blockchain, we were also telling them that these records that we are creating from our farmers, they need to be immutable, whereby no one can be able to change anything in the system. And we are not providing that solution. So you are the people who will go there and take them, look, you need to make it look this way. And Murang'a County is very open. And we are opening up spaces to most of them we are starting in Central because it's good to start in the middle. So that things can spread normally. Thank you.
That's very interesting. Okay, so I think those are really insightful conversations. Yes. So maybe we just maybe for you as you, Dr. Maybe you can just respond to that and also give us your parting shots.
In those rates started, can we look at them quickly?
Yeah, maybe let's close the panel and then now you can have this space to just present it for yourself.
I think my parting shot is that yes, we need to develop our agriculture. We need to ensure that it is working. It needs to be transformed from subsistence to commercial. At the same time, let us bring our youthful segments of our population to enter into agriculture so that they can be able to drive. We know the young people are sensitive to technology. Also, anybody who can play a role within the agricultural value chain, like what we have seen in the traceability, what we have seen in the storage, processing, and what have you, there is a lot of opportunities even for young people to find their way in within the food system where they can be able to assist all the way from production, processing, transportation, in agricultural, information and communication technology. There is a lot each of the sector can be able to play so that we can be able to develop our agriculture and make it more vibrant and be able to make the money making. Young people not enter into a sector which is not good to make money out of it. So we need to make agriculture acceptable, livable. We need to make it cool so that our young people can be able to enter into this sector in a big way, and therefore we can be able to make sure that our country grows.
Wow, thank you so much. Professor, you can tell us.
My parting shot is that we need to work together. No one is an island. We work together as a unit, and I'm more focused on providing these solutions. So if you feel maybe you are in tech, agriculture. Agriculture is the only place where innovation is very low. And whichever solution you develop, people will be willing to take it because it's better you have 20% than zero. So if you can be able to innovate something that can give us 20% accuracy, we will come for it. So I want to encourage people, there is Earth observation, we have free data. This data is free for you to use. Innovate around it, create solutions that can be able to support your livelihood. And there are so many, I'm a bit different because for me I do it pro bono, I just give out pro bono. And one of the products, if you want to use for your own commercial, gain, I have developed an agricultural standardized agriculture drought index. That index can be used anywhere in the world. That includes your own plots. So you can, it's free. I have put it, you can download it as a plugin on QGIS. QGIS, the reason why I chose QGIS is because it's free of charge. It's free and open source. Okay? It's free and open source, and it uses free access data, a free access satellite data. So you will not incur any cost. If you have a laptop, you just download QGIS, you install, and you go to the plugin and you specify either the coordinates of where you are, or you can just draw a box. Well, you can zoom to where your house is or your plot is and just draw a polygon, and it will be able to show you even 50 years how the drought conditions, agricultural drought conditions have been changing. And you can integrate it in your workflows and use it for your own gain. So thank you very much. If you want any training, I'm freely available. That one I tried to do a small fee. Okay? So thank you. We can always innovate around. We have Innovation Hub at Taita Taveta University. We have Earth observation innovation Harvard, Taita Taveta University, you are free to visit, you are free to pay me a call. If you have a business and you don't know how you can integrate Earth observation, come, we shall help you. And the university probably might do it to God of me. Thank you.
Maybe you can tell us the name of the plugin.
Oh, it's just agricultural drought, standardized agricultural drought index. It's called, if you just write SADI, it's not SAD, but SADI with the I at the end. S-A-D-I.
Okay, thank you so much.
How do I follow that? I'm not offering anything for free. I think what I want to say is let's just change our mindset. I think let's move from agriculture to agribusiness.
Yes.
And honestly, as Kenya, we can feed ourselves, we can feed the world, we can make money and create jobs while doing it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I think for me, top of mind and maybe my parting shot is really about our storytelling. Let's be creative about how we're telling stories. I'm seeing the real farmers of Mount Kenya. It really helps to such a big brand. And we love it. But different ways that we can tell the story. And let's find ways, and maybe that's a challenge to all of us. How can we create a platform to celebrate very frequently companies, brands, individuals who are doing amazing things in tech and agriculture? I think when those stories are told and people have a benchmark, someone to look up to, I think that is, some people at least are also in the direction to work with, and I think that's a place to start. So, in addition to all of this, let's tell amazing stories.
Wow, thank you so much. I want to just say thank you to my panelists. Thank you so much for creating time. I know maybe you have gone past a bit of time, but thank you so much for taking the time to just honor this call to come and share with our young entrepreneurs. Actually, most of them, as we saw, most of them are agripreneurs. So thank you so much for the insights. Thank you for the conversation. We really appreciate it. I've also learned so much from you, and we would definitely love to continue the conversations just also beyond this room.